Sutra 44, Section 2. Svādhyāya Ishta Devata Samprayoga. From self-study, the study which leads to knowledge of the self, with the desired deity, union or communion, coming into touch. By or from self-study, union with the desired deity. Svadhyaya attains its acme in communion with the Ishta Devata, because that is its ultimate purpose. As has been shown in Section 2, Sutra 32, although Svadhyaya begins with the study of problems relating to spiritual life, its main purpose is to open up a channel between the sadhaka and the object of his search. The nature of this communion will differ according to the temperament and capacity of the sadhaka and the nature of the Ishta Devata. The essential element in such a communion is the free flow of knowledge, power, and guidance from the higher to the lower consciousness. Okay. Sutra 45. Samadhi Siddhir Īśvara-Praṇidhāna. Samadhi Siddhir Samadhi Siddhir Īśvara-Praṇidhāna. Trance, success, accomplishment, perfection to God from self-surrender, from resignation. Accomplishment of samadhi from resignation to God. The fact that Īśvara-Praṇidhāna can lead ultimately to samadhi is a startling revelation, really. This fact has already been referred to in Section 1, Sutra 23. That's what I was thinking, where Patanjali not only points out the possibility of attaining samadhi through Īśvara-Praṇidhāna, but also in subsequent sutras shows that the path of Īśvara-Praṇidhāna is practically an alternate and independent path of achieving the goal, which is attained by following the Ashtanga Yoga with its 8 stages or parts. We have seen previously in other cases that extraordinary results can be achieved by pushing the development of a virtue or quality to the extreme limit. But perhaps the attainment of samadhi through Īśvara-Praṇidhāna alone is the most remarkable instance of such an achievement. That, by refining and intensifying progressively and systematically an attitude of self-surrender to God, we can by stages attain the supreme enlightenment in something that should make us pause and marvel at the wonderful mysteries hidden beneath the common things of life. The rationale of this unique accomplishment has been explained to a certain extent in Section 2, Sutra 32, but it may be worth summarizing here the main points in the chain of reasoning. The bondage of the Purusha in matter is maintained through the obscuring power of the chittavrittis, which prevent his seeing the fundamental truth of his existence and knowing himself as he truly is in his divine nature. I'm like, I see where this is going. Those chittavrittis are caused and maintained by the I consciousness, which gives rise to innumerable desires and keeps the mind in a state of constant agitation in order to satisfy those desires. Keeps it pointing outwards, right? If somehow this driving force, which keeps the mind in a state of perpetual motion and change, can be annihilated, the mind will come automatically to a state of rest, chittavritti nirodha. Just as a car comes to a stop gradually when the gas is shut off. It is not even necessary to apply the brakes, though this will no doubt hasten the process of coming to a halt. How can this driving force, which keeps the mind in a state of constant agitation and is ultimately responsible for the chittavrittis, be annihilated? Obviously, by destroying the desires of the personality, which provide the driving force for the mind, or to put it in other words, by dissolving the I. This, as we have seen already, is exactly what is sought to be accomplished through the practice of Īśvara-Praṇidhāna. Īśvara-Praṇidhāna develops paravairagya, breaks the bonds of the heart, eliminates the desires of the personality, and thus naturally and inevitably reduces the mind to a state of chitta-vritti nirodha, which is nothing but samadhi. It was mentioned in dealing with Sutra 43 that the word siddhi is used in two senses, that of perfection and occult power. It is also used in the sense of accomplishment. In the sutra under discussion, it is used in two senses, that of accomplishment and perfection. It not only can samadhi be attained through the practice of Īśvara-Praṇidhāna, but also perfected by the same technique. This will also be clear from section 4, Sutra 29, in which the technique of Dharma Mega Samadhi is given. This condition will be seen by the student as the highest stage of Īśvara-Praṇidhāna. Oh, this is a good one. 46. Sthira Sukham Āsanam. Sthira Sukham Āsanam. Steady and comfortable posture. Posture should be steady and comfortable. The students of yoga are generally familiar with the practices which are denoted by the word āsana. In fact, many people who do not know anything about yoga confuse it with these physical exercises. It is, however, necessary, even for the student of yogic philosophy, to understand clearly the place and purpose of asanas in Raja Yoga. For in Hatha Yoga and certain systems of physical culture, their purpose is very different. In Hatha Yoga, the subject of asanas is treated at great length, and there are at least 84 asanas which are described in detail, very specific and sometimes exaggerated results being attributed to many of them. There is no doubt that many of these asanas, by affecting the endocrine glands and pranic currents, tend to bring about very marked changes in the body, and if practiced correctly and for a sufficiently long time, promote health in a remarkable manner. Hatha Yoga is based on the principle that changes in consciousness can be brought about by setting in motion currents of certain kinds of subtler forces, prana, kundalini, in the physical body. The first step in contacting the deeper levels of consciousness is, therefore, to make the physical body perfectly healthy and fit for the influx and manipulation of these forces. That is why such a strong emphasis is laid on the preparation of the physical body, and the sadhaka is required to go through different kinds of physical exercises, which are dealt with in treatises on Hatha Yoga. In Raja Yoga, however, the method adopted for bringing about changes in consciousness is based essentially on the control of the mind by the will and the gradual suppression of the chitta vrittis. The technique of Raja Yoga is therefore directed toward the elimination of all sources of disturbance to the mind, whether these sources are external or internal. Now, one of the important sources of disturbance to the mind is the physical body. Even modern psychology recognizes the close connection between the mind and the body and how they act and react on each other all the time. So the yogi must eliminate completely the disturbances which arise from the physical body before he tries to tackle the problem of the mind itself. This is achieved through the practice of āsana. The physical body is fixed in one particular posture, and it is found that when it can be kept like this for a long time, it ceases to be a source of disturbance to the mind. Patanjali gives only 3 sutras regarding the technique of asanas, but in these he has condensed all the essential knowledge concerning the subject. The first of these given above points out the 2 essential requirements in the practice of asana. It should be steady and it should be comfortable. The yogi has to choose any one of the well-known asanas suited for the practice of meditation, such as Padmasana or Siddhasana, and then practice remaining in that posture until he can maintain it for long periods of time without the slightest inclination to make any movement. Sitting in any asana becomes uncomfortable after a few minutes, and the beginner will find that he cannot maintain it for any considerable time without feeling minor discomforts in various parts of the body. If, however, the asana is correctly chosen and practiced in the right way, steady and persistent practice will gradually eliminate all these minor discomforts which cause constant distractions to the mind. The yogi is then able to maintain his body in the correct posture indefinitely and to forget it altogether. If, in spite of prolonged practice and good health, one always feels discomfort in maintaining the posture for long periods, there is something wrong, either with one's choice of the asana or method of practicing it, and it is advisable to seek expert advice. It is also necessary to understand thoroughly the implication of the word steady. Steadiness does not mean merely the capacity to remain more or less in the same position with freedom to make minor movements and adjustments from time to time. It means a certain degree of immovability, which practically amounts to fixing the body in one position and eliminating all movements of any kind. In trying to maintain this immovable position, the beginner is apt to introduce a certain amount of rigidity, which makes the body tense. This is definitely wrong and will react adversely on the health of the body. What should be aimed at is the ideal combination of immovability with relaxation. It is only then that it is possible to forget the body altogether. A particular asana is considered to be mastered when the sadhaka can maintain it steadily and easily for 4 hours and 20 minutes. This period of time, as given in some books on hatha yoga, has really no important significance and gives merely an approximate idea of the length of time for which practice may be undertaken for gaining mastery. Once the habit has been acquired, the posture can be maintained for any length of time while the yogi's attention is focused on his mind. Okay, so we're going to stop for today. The next one is Sutra 47. By relaxation of effort and meditation on the endless, posture is mastered. Interesting. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.